Hi, everyone. Welcome back to a new episode of Emerging Brands Podcast with Kelly Bennett. I talk to really cool founders who are building emerging brands, the brands of today. And today is a really fun episode because we're talking about Mom Juice, aka a really cool wine company. And Macie, the co founder, is on the podcast. So, Macie, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Kelly. I'm excited. We both got the memo on the gene, you
Yes, I love
know.
that. I love it. So, Mom Juice, first off, what a great name. What a great name.
Thank
And secondly, I would love to hear how this got started. How did you become a co-founder of a wine company? And what did that look like for you becoming an entrepreneur as well?
Yeah, it's a wild story. I actually met Kristen, our founder and CEO, probably 3 years prior to even working together. We went on a blind business date. Some people that I was working with knew Kristen, and they're like, "We feel like you ladies could really, shake things up, or you should at least know each other." Went on a lunch date, and we hit it off in a way that we enjoyed each other. We were very complimentary. Like we just really liked each other, but had no real reason to work together, right? So we watched each other with the way of social media. She was doing some really great things for other people's brands, help building them up and launching different liquor brands as well as a brand new winery into the market. Um, I was building my first tech startup after exiting my financial career of 7 years. After about 2.5 years, we went through an acquisition, and I found myself hanging out, figuring out what I was going to do next, right? And during my hangout stage, I was consulting companies or founders, just seeing where I could help out. And Kristen approached me, asked if I would consult her a bit, and she paid me to do so. And through the spreadsheets and the craziness, when it was time for her to need a business partner, I was like, I'm going to throw my name in the hat.
That's really
And
cool.
we yeah, we decided to push forward together.
That is really cool. So you came from financial and tech background, and her background was in you said a winery, alcohol, vertical. So that's a
Yeah.
really cool coming together of both your backgrounds
Mhm.
to make a really strong business.
Yeah, we definitely have different skill sets. We have a lot of the same, I like to say we have the same taste, but with very different opinions and personalities, which is great for when you're running and operating a business. You don't want to have someone that mirrors you all the
Right.
time to do all the things, right? You need people that are going to challenge you and truly keep you in line with your customers and what they want and not what we want all the time. It's funny because when we decided to become business partners, we both found out that we each have a dark green velvet couch, which is very specific. But
Very
oftentimes,
specific.
when we are creating products and maybe we didn't take it, to beta or to a group of moms, as aggressively as we did the other products, we have to back up and we always remind ourselves, we're like, not all of our customers have a green velvet couch. You know,
Right.
like
Right.
we're making these things for them, essentially.
So tell me more then about Mom Juice. How did the brand start? When did you start?
Yeah.
How did you find the name? Give me all of the
Yeah.
behind the scenes.
It was crazy because we knew we wanted to start a winery. Mom Juice was just naturally in one of the names that we had thrown at the wall, right? And neither of us had started a winery. I hadn't before. We really were getting our hands dirty and like creating the licensing and whatnot. That's the difference of what Kristen had started a wine brand before. They were white labeling a lot of their wine. And so we wanted to do a lot of research because we were paying for licensing. We were going to become the winery and bottle and make our own wine, which is a very expensive process. And
Right.
at first, we're going to have a traditional bottle. It's going to look like everyone else. It's going to be so beautiful and just like very chic, And as we kept diving deeper into the problems that we wanted to solve, it strangely aligned really well with the mom community. We had heard in all of our mom groups. I'm also a mom of 4, right? So it's
Mom of
pretty much
4.
my yeah,
Yes.
it's it's my identity. But we kept hearing like, "Oh, no, that's mom's juice, that's mommy's juice," right? And we're like, it's just so commonly used amongst the Mon community. We had our trademark lawyer look it up, and surprisingly, it was available. We're like, "We cannot believe this,"
That's
but
amazing.
I know, it fits so well because when we started just we knew we wanted to make wine for women and especially women that look like us, right? The younger generations aren't seeing that in marketing. Wine truly does have an old people problem and they're working their way out of it, but it takes some movers and shakers and newcomers like us with new brands to showcase different marketing to make wine a less intimidating experience. And when we surveyed all the moms, what was important to them was a pretty label and high alcohol content. So our first Pinot Grigio grapes really did that. They were above 14%, and our label was absolutely gorgeous. So we're like, this is mom juice. This is it. By the time the mom groups got a hold of that Pinot Grigio, they were like, oh no, we need more. This isn't a one hit wonder. So now we have a core 4 and a full blown brand that we've propelled into the universe.
Incredible. And when did you start the brand?
We started about 4 years ago, and the
Okay.
first year, it was really, like, all the structure that you need within a startup, right? It was all the research, it was all the licensing, which in, wine or alcohol in general, if we're gonna ship to a state, we have to go through that process with every single state, and it's different with every single one.
Right.
And then getting our feet wet in the winemaking industry in general, right? Meeting and deciding to work with our winemaker, having him come on board as a business partner, not just a pay to play, was very important to us because he does have such an amazing resume. He's made wine for Opus One, Kendall Jackson. He made wine for Empathy Wines, who was acquired
Mhm.
during the pandemic for 1.2 billion.
Yes.
And so, for what we want to build, he has the resume and the excitement to do it with us. And so just a lot of the foundational work in the first year, and then we launched like December with our Pinot Grigio, and we made a little bit of money, and we're like, oh my gosh, and we've just been rocking and rolling since.
That's incredible. And so what has been your strategy to launch and now scale? I know you talked about mom groups, surveying moms. Could you tell us more about that part of the process?
Yeah, we have a group of about 3,500 moms that we ask them anything and everything, right? From what they want their wine to taste like, what their experiences have been, how it feels for them to go to the wine aisle, right? Is it overwhelming? How do they pick that one brand and once they like it, they keep buying it? Just understanding how they shop and really what their preferences are. They control about 85% of the household purchases, and so it's very important just for, brands that are marketing to women in general to do those
Right.
things. But yeah, when we launched, we went direct to consumer, so all online. We were getting killed by shipping costs, but what we wanted to do with launching direct to consumer first is really collect data on where our customers sat. Right.
Right.
Being a small brand, not having a giant marketing spend, we needed to be strategic on the markets that we went into. And so we could see where our buyers were, and then we could go in and attack that market, whether that be self-distributing or finding a distributor. Each state again has different laws around it. And then we went pretty deep rather than wide for the first 3 years of attacking the market. And now we're in an explosive growth phase, right? Where we've closed out our pre-seed, or in the works of closing it out right now. We'll close it right under $1 million. We've made that $1 million last all 4 years, right? And that is,
Incredible.
yeah, it's been stressful, but it has been
Right.
scrappy. And I feel like now when we go and we raise the venture capital, with VCs, we're not not throwing things at the wall to see what sticks. We know exactly how to attack the market. We know
Right.
exactly where we need to go next. We've caught the attention of larger retailers after launching into Target, Safeway, HEB, Food Lion, Total Wines, right? We're in conversations with all of them. And so now we're moving out of our go deep, not wide strategy and into our rapid growth chapter.
That's incredible. And so when you were pitching for the first round that you raised, what was some things that really stood out to potential investors and those who became investors of what you were doing differently in the market and what was really resonating?
Yeah, well, I mean, initially, as we spoke about the name, it's
Right.
such a driver in the brand. We really lean into that. And I think when we could showcase how well we speak to moms and we're relatable, it was very apparent that if we could just spread our name around, that we would grow. The second thing is we have a really great team. I have an exit, our winemaker, he has been through an exit. Our COO, he actually just came on. He was the second hire at Bev. And they were just acquired by
Wow.
Gallo. And so, we've got a really strong core team here. And I think that that's one thing that a lot of people, Kristen is not, this is her first like big venture. She's been building other people's companies, but I think when investors see they're like, oh, first time entrepreneur. She has
Right.
a lot of great people backing her, and she's doing a wonderful job of, pivoting every day and, taking whatever coaching advice we're getting from advisors as we grow. But no, another few things that are important is we do ingredient transparency. So we are one of 8 wineries in the United States that actually have our ingredients on the back of the bottle. It makes sense for us because we're marketing to moms. We need to know what's going into our body. You don't know if someone is attempting to get pregnant, if they're breastfeeding. A lot of people don't know that not all wine is vegetarian.
Right.
These wineries are out here putting things like fish bladder in your wine.
Yes.
So it's really crazy. And ingredient transparency is huge for our customer base. And we have a lot of innovation that you guys will start seeing. We are coming out with our non-alc. And that is not to follow the trend, but I have a 1-year-old, and so 2 years ago when we found out I was pregnant, we were hiding non-alc rosé in Kristen's bag because we also had a giant rosé launch with all these influencers that I could not
Right.
not be in photos with, right? And in that moment, we're like, we need to be able to cover the entire life cycle of motherhood. It's baked into our customer base. They need these options. And then we have some pretty innovative single serve packaging that's going to be coming out that's in the pre-patent phase. So I think that we're not afraid to shake things up, speak directly to our customers, and then bring some innovation to wine.
I also really appreciated how you said that you have a database of what 3,500 moms that you talk to. How did you start cultivating that group? Was it those early
Yeah.
um customers who were purchasing it or following you online or like friends of friends? I would just love to hear more of
Yeah.
that too.
So first, of course, we just reached out to all of our mom friends and put
Right.
them in like one mass group text. And then when we started seeing like, okay, they were kind of building the base of the questions, right? Here are some things that moms have differences on and whatnot. We also, of course, the initial customers that came and bought from us were huge. But before we had customers, we had to find moms somewhere else outside of just our groups, right?
Right.
You hang out with people, so you probably have similar tastes. We needed some moms that don't have the same taste as us. And so Facebook groups, believe it or not. Facebook groups are really huge still, very active. And we found that moms were happy to participate.
I
You have to
really
do it in a way.
that feels
Yeah, go
authentic,
ahead.
I'm sure.
Yeah, and you have to do it in a way that all of these Facebook groups have rules, right? You're not allowed to really like go out and solicit. And so, how does it feel authentic? How are you engaging with them? Instagram too, sliding in people's DMs, and understand that we're not going for like, when I say slide in someone's DM, I'm not going for this influencer that has millions of followers. Our customer is the everyday mom, and so many of them were excited to be part of this.
I appreciate you saying that because so many founders, brand builders get fixated on working with these influencers with millions of followers. However, what
Mhm.
I've also learned in my experience, it's usually those micro local influencers who are a friend of a friend or have that feeling of a friend that have so much more impact, and they're more excited and enthusiastic about your product and brand, and they genuinely share about it versus feeling like you're kind of lost in the shuffle working with a huge influencer.
Yeah. It's also when you get someone that is smaller or to the level of a micro influencer and you're engaging with them authentically and they truly like you or your product,
Right.
they're going to tell more people than the people just on the internet,
Right.
right? Because a lot of people aren't buying alcohol direct to consumer, whereas unless they're actually telling people where to go and buy our wine in the streets, it's not as effective. And so if we can get, you know, some regular moms that are dropping their kids off at school to see one of our signs, come in and try one of our samples, they tell all of their friends.
Right.
And that really has worked well for us.
I would love to hear the vision of Mom Juice as you're going through this period of growth and excitement, closing out a round. What is the vision for the brand?
Yeah, well, regardless of where this journey takes us, one thing that's very important to myself and Kristen is the quality control on our wine. We make really great quality wine, and we don't want to partner or make any big moves that would change the quality of our wine. But we do see ourselves, moving into several more states this year, and then eventually partnering with someone that could take us on a national level, right? And if that's through way of acquisition or us raising, a series A, to knock that out and continue maintaining our equity. We're staying very open minded. Now, not to say that we aren't constantly having conversations on what an acquisition or a strategic partnership would look like. A lot of our advisors have been there, done that, and have those people, just a phone call away. And so understanding where we need to be to grow at mass is very
Mhm.
important. And then to just keep that quality control there as we do so.
Last question. When you are looking back now from when you first started, even your first acquisition, which is really cool, to where you are now, what piece of advice would you share with a founder who's in the really early stages, maybe in that first year of R&D, researching, or in that very early chapter of when you were texting your friends like, "Hey, we have this idea, what do you think about X, Y, and Z about wine?" What type of advice would you tell that founder in that, situation?
Yeah, I have two things. Within my first company, the reason I sold off the technology was because I was breaking the law and I went to lobby and attempted to change the law. But moving from that industry into another regulated industry, do your homework, right?
Mm,
Don't miss the research phase. Really dive in, talk to industry experts, talk to people that are going to be using your product. Make sure you're truly solving their problem, and then moving over into what we would call that beta round, where you
right,
are speaking with them constantly to develop, before you launch. Don't be afraid to talk to people. I go into stores all the time and I sit in the wine aisle, and if they have a kid, I'm like, "Hey, mom, you want to try some mom juice? Do you want to, like?" And
right,
sometimes they're a little taken back, but I feel like if you have good energy and you have good intent, people are going to tell you like, "Hey, I'm a little busy right now." But a lot of people don't do those things because they're afraid to talk to people. And you
right.
have to get people outside of your own groups to start testing and start giving feedback on whatever you're going to put out in the world.
That's a really great piece of solid advice that no matter where you are or what type of marketing budget you have, you could start implementing, right? Of talking to people a bit outside your network about what you're passionate about and what you're trying to figure out with your product. And so I appreciate when founders share advice like that that feels very tangible and actionable because there's no excuse not to try it.
Yeah,
I love that.
right.
So, most important question, where can people find Mom Juice?
Oh my gosh, yes. If you want to follow us on social media, it is at Mom Juice Wine. And then if you go to our website, www.momjuicewine.com, we are in over 500 stores throughout Tennessee, North Carolina, and Colorado. We still do ship to 44 states, but our website is going to lead you to our store locator where you can type in your address and find whatever stores are closest to you. And if you don't see a store, please let us know that you're interested because we are tracking that and monitoring it 24/7 as we grow and as we scale.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule and making it work, taking this interview in the car. Like you said, you're like, moms, figure it out.
Yeah.
you, you all hide and
Yes.
work from all the places. So, thank
Yep.
you again for making this happen. I really love learning about Mom Juice and just congratulations on your launch and scaling.
Oh, thank you so much, Kelly. We really appreciate being on today.
Of course. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and I'll see you next week.